Lindsey Crosby, Pro Football Focus over the weekend, they tweeted out the following. Tank Bigsby has 57 runs of 10-plus yards since 2020. That's second among SEC running backs. And when you take into account he missed playing time in 2020 due to, that was his freshman year. He missed some playing time due to an injury, that hip injury against Tennessee. And then I don't think he got as many touches as he should have a year ago. They kind of went chunks of relevant game time without putting him on the field or giving him the ball. And then also, the offensive line in front of him is, I would say, below average at run blocking. And the fact that he's able to be a type of back that can have that much burst and consistently get runs of over 10 yards is incredible. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, I will admit the 57 10+ was not, I didn't hear that and wasn't blown away. Second among SEC running backs. That's what blew me away in this.
That's the perspective of it all. Yeah. Like, this is really good.
Yeah, like, wow. Okay. I'm like, because 57, you don't have any context. But I have a question for you, and you probably have the answer. This is kind of more of a challenging some of the assumptions here. So, and there's a great piece at auburndaily.com that talks about this article and some of these stats. And in the piece, and you touched on it, below average offensive line, yet he still does this. So the piece also goes on to mention that Tank Bigsby had an 81.8 grade last year, which was the highest on the offense.
Led the offense, right.
Second on the offense was Jarquez Hunter with an 80.9. So my question is now, those two grades, does that mean that Jarquez is potentially a talent on the level of Tank Bigsby? Or does that mean that maybe our offensive line isn't as bad as everybody thought they were? Because a back that is not as good as Tank still was able to perform pretty well behind that line.
Well, Pro Football Focus, the same group that's giving these high ranks to these running backs, they do not like our running game or our run blocking for our offensive linemen. So, before we move forward, it's much smaller sample size, only 14 snaps. But you want to guess who number 3 was?
14 snaps. Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was Sean Jackson, another running back. So I thought that was kind of funny. Then it was Bo Nix, which is awesome.
Who just earned a scholarship for his great play. So that makes sense.
There you go.
It makes sense.
I think Jarquez Hunter's I think he's really good. I think he's really, really good. And I almost feel like we put him in a better situation to succeed at times than we did Tank. Because Tank, it was more of a okay, we need you to run between the tackles and we need you to, we're not really going to do anything special with you because we don't have to. Jarquez, I think we use a little bit more in the passing game.
We skinned it up a bit too.
I think so. And that's nothing against Jarquez Hunter. I mean, the fact that he did what he was able to do as a freshman, I think is really, really good. But yeah, so I would say that's more on Jarquez, not our run blocking being better than we think it is. So, enough. What Pro Football Focus is looking at, right, is how can these running backs and wide receivers create their own opportunities, create their own yards, and create separation from the defenders. And there's a bunch of different ways to do that. I mean, you could do that by falling forward consistently. You could do that by scheme, or you don't have to do anything at all because the coaching staff drew up something really nice. Or you could do that with natural speed. And I think Jarquez is a little bit faster than Tank. Tank's just not that kind of runner. But Tank's patience and his understanding of how guys are moving around him is so special. And he's also a freak athlete. Let's don't discredit that either. In that same article, Lindsay, the next line is Tank led an offensive rating in 2020 as well as a true freshman. You think about that. That's crazy.
Can I point out that the more successful backs from the Gus Malzahn regime were the type of backs like a Kerryon Johnson, like a Tank Bigsby, that had that patience and were able to wait for a play to develop and then pick a spot and go? That's a trend that I've seen to have noticed, that we talked about these guys in that manner, guys that tend to do that. And so part of me wonders, was that something that Gus Malzahn specifically looked for? Or was that just something that those players happened to have that he took?
I think it's so funny Because, I mean, we think about Kerryon, and then Boobie Whitlow tried to do it and didn't work because it's hard. What Kerryon did was so hard. And I think we got used to seeing that. But, like, Trey Mason wasn't like that.
No.
Trey
Mason hit the hole incredibly fast.
Yeah, one-cut guy. Absolutely. Would have been great in the NFL if he didn't have off-field stuff going on. And then, like, Peyton Barber wasn't like that. He was the same way. In fact, he was, like, so eager to draw contact that, like, he would miss the hole from time to time. And then he got better at the NFL with it. Even like Ben Tate, though. Ben Tate was a little bit more patient. He could do a little bit of everything, but Cameron Artis-Payne was the same way. He just wanted to get to the line of scrimmage and fall forward, and he did a great job at it. So, you know, it's just kind of interesting how Auburn has been able to create different types of running backs, because Tank Bigsby and Jarquez Hunter are not the same. They're not the same at all. And you want your backs to be different, right? Because you want the defense to have to adjust what they're doing and predict what you're doing based on a different type of running back. That's why I love Sean Shivers' role. Don't know if we really have that next. That's why it's going to be fun to see who takes that number 3 running back spot. Is it Sean Jackson? Damari Austin moved in over the weekend. Is it going to be him? I think he's going to be given every absolute chance that he possibly can. You know, he doesn't seem that much different than the other two. Can he be a change of pace type back? I'm not sure. But still, there's a lot to like about this. But, you know, with all the offseason rumblings about this team, about questions at wide receiver and questions about the offense and questions at quarterback, I mean, literally every position except for tight end and running back. I don't think we're talking about how stinking special Tank Bigsby is enough. And I just wanted to devote a few minutes to that today.
Yeah, I don't think I necessarily – I think it's a byproduct of him not being used as much as he could have been used last year. And I have full confidence that if we had used him in those key situations where we're all at home screaming, run the ball, give the ball to Tank,
right?
I think that maybe it's a little more forefront about, oh, hey, he did this. He did this so many times, et cetera, et cetera. But we just didn't use it. And so sometimes you kind of forget that, no, he's a special player. And the more you feature him, the better your offense is going to do in 2022. And I'm not going to go as far as to say the fate of the offense rests on Tank's production, but I do think it's easy to say the more you involve Tank Bigsby, the better the offense will be.
And you got to think that, right?
Yeah.
This is interesting, though. I'm just looking at the Pro Football Focus numbers right now. And overall, Tank is the highest. And then on running plays, it's not even close. When he's on the field and a running play is called, his grade is over an 86, which is crazy.
Amazing.
But when he's on the field in a passing situation, it's 51, which isn't great. Jarquez Hunter's, however, when he's on the field in a passing situation, it's a 76.9. And like, I think that right there is the difference as far as how these guys are going to be used. And I also think that plays into the scheme thing that we talked about a second ago.
Does that factor in pass blocking as well? Because Jarquez, just from my brief mentions or my brief memories of him, I seem to remember he was decent at pass blocking. And I think
Jarquez's pass blocking grade is 53.
I was wrong.
For context, though, Tank's is 34.
Okay. So nobody's great at it
on his chart.
Yeah. He's the pig with the lipstick. Okay.
I actually thought Sean Shivers was good at that, but Sean Shivers is a 26 out of 100 on pass block last year. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's why the pass rush was so bad. I don't know.
I don't think he had very many opportunities. And so I think if you have one or two like glaring breakdowns, the sample size is so small, it drags that score down.
That's definitely true.